Alright, ladies, gentlemen, and gamers, welcome back to the 10.22 patch notes. Now, this one should be a big doozy. So, it's currently 5 a.m., and I was like, shit, I forgot to do fucking patch notes yesterday. And my sleeping schedule's fucked up, so we're doing this in the morning. So I might not be as animated as I usually am, but I'm gonna get a little heated during this because Seraphine's in this one. And you just check my YouTube. I have a lot of videos, namely 3, that describe my disgust and hate for Seraphine. Not just her kit, which we'll get into a lot this video, but her Riot's decision to give her the ultimate skin, which was terrible and got a lot of community backlash, except from the K-pop stands, which have also targeted my life. But anyway, let's see what's going on. So 10.22, here we go. Our one last light patch for the books before we switch gears into heavy-duty preseason. So that's good to know. In 2 weeks, we're going to get preseason. I don't even know how I'm going to tackle that video for patch notes, but we'll see. We'll see, I guess. God, that's going to be like maybe an hour or 2. Oh, Lord, I'm not looking forward to that. We've got a new pop star in our midst. Oh, boy. First off, we attacked the Fire Nation, changed some things, now everything with Annie and Brand. Oh, these changes are actually really fucking big. I know about some of these. I know about Brand's. These tweaks should help their skills feel more intuitive. We made a couple more clarity checks on Mumu, Jinx, Gally. Jinx, what the hell? And wrapped it all up with the usual balance changes. Okay, cool. Complete our touch changes regarding matchmaking. Now all players in rank queues will more often experience being grouped up with similarly ranked people. That should have been the case like years ago. God, I don't know why like that's coming in now, but it is what it is. So we have a lot to go through. Excuse me. Okay, so as you can see, we got oh, they updated Ash W. I need to see that. We got new KDA skins, and Hunter actually put it really well to me yesterday. Ari has more music skins, more like, you know, pop star KDA skins, than some champions have skins worn. Like, she has pop star Ari, KDA Prestige Ari, and then KDA All Out Ari. It's like, this is fucking crazy. Like, I'm almost positive they're doing these skins to appeal to Chinese audiences, and because that's their biggest money bringer. Like, it's so fucking dumb. I hate pandering, especially when it's not even something I like, but like I said, the K-pop stands, oh boy, they're fucking nutting. They are nutting in their pants right now. But anyway, champion, Seraphine. We'll go over Seraphine near the end. I want to kind of get through the patch notes first, because I don't know how long she's going to take, but she basically, for people who, well, no one watches this shit, but for people who are only going to watch the beginning, Seraphine is basically better Sona. There you go. Alright, Amumu. The R now stuns enemies. Roots and disarms enemies for 2 seconds, stuns enemies for 2 seconds. Honestly, rooting and disarming, right? It means you can't attack and you can't move. So I don't know what the difference is, but I guess this is just for clarity purposes, or maybe it doesn't let you do certain actives, I think, maybe. But either way, this is a buff. Amumu's buffed. I don't think Amumu's that strong. Ironically enough, I think the right thing to do on him can either be tank or AP. I never thought I would get to the day where I'd say that. AP hybrid Amumu is very potent. I think if you do not go Liandry's on Amumu at all, like, even if you're going full tank, you should at least get Liandry's. It ramps up your damage so fucking much. It's so good. But, in terms of, aside from the build paths he takes, in terms of just, like, his stay in the game, I think he's decent. He's just a counter pick into armor teams, I guess. Kind of, not really, actually, not anymore. He just buffs, I guess, mages with his passive, which is really good if you have a Veigar. His passive is really good for that shit. But Amumu's alright. He gets outclassed by a lot of other junglers. I would say on the line, he's probably like nearing the bad line. He's definitely under the mid, like the normal line. He's not normal. He's definitely towards the bad line, but He's not that bad. Like, you're not trolling if you pick him. He has decent teamfight potential. But everything else he kind of just lacks in. Okay, Annie. What do I think of Annie? I haven't watched Annie bot in forever. I'm not sure what her state is. Annie bot's not popular. Rip Jared. So, maybe Annie's bad? Or maybe people just got tired of Jared even though he's super cool. But in general, Annie, I've barely ever seen her. She's not even played support. She's not played mid. I don't know why. Honestly, I think I know why. There's one champion that just kind of outclasses her, right? What does Annie fulfill the niche of? I don't know. She's decent at farming. She has decent team fight, although, as I'm going to get to soon, someone does her job, but better. And safer. Annie's weird. Like, she's a burst mage, but I don't feel like she bursts unless she's fed. And honestly, with all the stuff that has come out, you could get what she does, again, a lot easier, aka Zoe, and a lot more fun, and a lot safer, and a lot more broken. Still Zoe I'm talking about, but that's not the person who does her job better. But regardless, let's see what they're changing. And spoiler alert, the person who does her job better is Orianna. Orianna has basically the same pressure as Annie ult, but she doesn't have to walk up and ult them. She has to put the ball on someone or send the ball in. Annie kind of has to engage the fight herself with Tibbers or with Flash W or Flash Tibbers. Unless it's really obvious or it's set up for her, it's really hard to set up stuff with Annie unless you waste Flash. But Orianna just does her job easier and does more damage and has utility. Now, I think one of the changes I know of with Annie is they're trying to make her a nut, like give her more utility with her teammates, kind of like Orianna, because that's the niche Orianna kind of fills. She does nuke damage sometimes, but she buffs teammates, she gives move speed, she slows the enemy. It's a great teamfight ultimate that synergizes with her teammates. It's great. Annie, I think they want to force her to be very similar to Orianna in that sense. Now, let's see if what I read actually went to live, or what I saw actually went to live. He now provides a shield instead of damage reduction, okay? And this is the big part. Shield can now be cast on target ally champions. Yup. So we should at the very least see more Annie support with this change. Shield animation updated. That's great. Cost and range increased. Understandable. Shield always applies to Tibbers when he's summoned. That's a super fucking good change. If you had to choose whether to put it on Tibbers or an ally, it takes away that choice and it just gives it to both, which is super fucking good. We're giving Annie more ways to use her shield while keeping it a simple and intuitive defense. So, will this help mid lane? Let me see. The damage reduction was really fucking good mid to late game. Like, mid to late game, reducing like, what, 29% damage is kind of crazy. But, how much is the shield? 40, 90, 140, 190, 240. I think the shield's definitely better early. For sure, it's probably better early. It's for 3 seconds and the bonus move speed buff. And she could move speed. She's basically like a kind of similar Karma. Interesting. It costs 40 mana, so they doubled the cost. The range is 800. That's pretty fucking good. We'll cast on live target or very close to targeting them. Otherwise, we'll self-cast. That's really good, so you don't have to click yourself. That's super fucking good. Tibbers always gains the benefits. Does this help mid Annie? I think so. I think just, again, Annie's job and what she fulfills is done by others. Orianna and for the catch-out, Zoe. Zoe's more like one-off catch-out, but it's more safe and reliable and more like bursty in a way. It's a better catch-out because it's safer and has more burst. Orianna's just a better team fight because she buffs people. She can stay at range, not put herself in danger. And yeah, it's basically off the sound thing. But this definitely helps Annie in both lanes, I think. But it's going to push her more towards the support because of the move speed buff, I think. I mean, but she gives it to herself too. I'm trying to think. This one's getting me. I'm just going to say it's a buff for both. I'm not going to say she's going to go support more. Maybe she will because she's a shit mid laner, actually. Yeah, she's going to go support more. Because again, other people do her job better in mid. Alright, enough with that. So, Ashe. What do I think of Ashe? I think Ashe is probably one of the top ADs right now. They nerfed her moves or her attack speed on her Q a bit in the past. Don't really feel it too much. I mean, you feel it decently, but not that much. It's not too bad. And she's still a great early mid-game pick because of her range and catch-out utility. Late game, she scales super well with crit. It's huge, like, guaranteed damage with slow and a lot of range. She's just a great AD in general. One of the top ADs. Because early game, she does decent and she scales very well. So I'm assuming to see nerfs, but I don't know what they're doing because they said they're updating her. So I'm assuming to see nothing. If anything, a buff actually. I think she deserves nerfs, but she might get a buff here. Adding more satisfaction and experimental variety to her main skill to get more bang for your rank ups. Arrows per volley. What? What does this increase the slow? I think depending on how many arrows you're hit by, it increases the slow. So this is a slight change, but one that might be cool, or maybe the fan grows larger. I'm not sure about this change. Let me look up Ashe real quick. Hold on. Ashe. Lol. Ashe, League of Legends. What's the W? Ashe fires arrows in a cone, each dealing physical damage and applying critical. Enemies do not take damage from arrows beyond the first. So this literally does nothing. Like, well, I don't get it. This change does nothing. Unless it gets wider. This is confusing me. I don't know about this change, but I mean, I guess it'll look cooler at the very least. At the most, it might slow a little bit more. So let's assume it slows a little bit more. If it does slow a little bit more, it's decent. I mean, it's the ability you max first, so you're gonna see the effects right away. But honestly, I don't think it's really whatever, because the slow increases once you get more crit, so. Or is as you level up. I don't fucking know. Ashe is just good. This doesn't change anything. It's good. It changes probably very little. Okay. Brand. This one should be pretty fucking big, actually. So, what do I think of Brand? Brand is not a fucking mid laner, right? He's just not. He's not a mid laner. You go mid, you'll probably die. And you're trolling. He's a support, and I hate him support, because on my team, he fucking does nothing. And even if he does something, he's taking stuff away from me, the glorious ADC player. On the enemy team, he's a fucking nuisance, he's annoying, he's oppressive. I fucking hate Brand. He's so fucking annoying. He can be taken advantage of, though. He's very squishy, but he's super fucking annoying. I hate Brand. Now, do I think Brand is good? Yes. Yes, but not in pro or competitive play. I think he's good to fuck around, and I think he's fun. I don't think he's bad in any sense. If I see a Brand, I'm like, ah, shit, like, I'm annoyed. I just described that. But, I don't know why. Whenever I say but, I say I'm after, but I think that Brand forces the AD to play a different style of gameplay, right? Brand has to be aggressive, but he has to be careful. Bad Brand players will get abused, which ironically are the ones I get the most, but like, they will get fucking abused. Brand can get smacked on the fucking mouth. He has to be careful, but if Brand is careful with his positioning and can catch out the enemy when they're CSing or when they're trying to do something, he's super fucking annoying. Now, I think he's pretty good, like I said, in non-competitive and not top-tier play. I would say that. But he could definitely, I think, use a slight buff, because playing him, ironically enough, is, in my opinion, a little difficult. Like, when I tried to play him, I kind of sucked ass. You could get away with doing bad on him if the enemy's bad, but if you're doing bad and the enemy's good, you're going to get abused. So, he's a little weak in that respect. And they nerfed the fuck out of his passive. So let's see what they're doing. Passive explosion damage decreased, so nerf, okay. E-Blaze spread now always spreads to nearby enemies. That's the big change I was looking at. Blaze spread radius is increased. That's crazy. Indicator now displays Blaze spread radius. That's super fucking good. Our Fireball can now bounce back to Brand. Oh my. So he can actually go mid now. Bounce priority updated. Let's see this. Once upon a time, Brand was a mid laner. True. But in recent history, he's only a support. To give him some steam and firing up his offense to promote a more aggressive playstyle. In addition, we tap down. Okay. Altogether, should help Brand feel equipped to blaze back into mid without stepping his strength as a support. How are they doing this? So, the mark damage on the explosion is nerfed from 10 to 14. Honestly, that's good. Like, if you got that off in a big team fight, that would almost carry the fucking team fight because it would cause a chain reaction. It was insane. And it's percentage health too. It doesn't mention it here, but the Blaze passive explosion is also percentage health, which is crazy. Nerfing it is fine. Nerfing it is fine. It scales a little bit better too, so you're actually encouraged to build AP on it. Now, Conflagration, the E, the big change. It always spreads to enemies. I need to see the range on that. Let's see if they say it. When cast on a Blaze target, spreads teams within 375. When cast on a Blaze target, spreads teams within 600. So normally it's 300. So it's almost as big as when they're blazed right now as Brand is, which is not that big at all, honestly. To 600 if they're already blazed. That's actually super fucking big. He has guaranteed poke now, in my opinion. It's kind of crazy. If you're standing near the minions, you're gonna get hit by E. Now, new Blaze Rage indicator. Okay, so they just added the indicator. That's super good. Super good quality of life change. Pyroclasm. It can now bounce to Brand, so that obviously buffs his mid lane. Will stick to Brand slightly longer to temper Q distance? Is that a Q or O distance? Oh, okay, so you can't just burst someone if you're on top of them. It'll like stick on you a bit, so the bounce times will be consistent. Okay. So it prioritizes enemy champions, then Brand, then any valid bounce target. So minions will be chosen. Minions and everything else will be chosen last, hopefully. That's great. Overall, I actually think this might push Brand to go back mid. I think Brand's main weakness is how fucking squishy he is. If you miss the stun on Brand, you're fucked. But now, he has an actual decent way to poke you with E. I actually won't be surprised if we start seeing E maxes on Brand. I don't think it's that good, but it's consistent. Obviously, the majority of the time W is going to be max, but we might see WEQ instead of WQE now. I'm very curious. At the very least, I think it might make E max second. But this just helps Brand. Even in bot lane, this might bring up his bot lane power because, again, it's more consistent poke. And now you have two people to bounce it off of in bot with the E. Like, that's super fucking good. I don't know. I think this is just a straight buff to Brand in every scenario. And I think this is going to make Brand widely played and widely fucking annoying. But that's great. Galio. What do I think of Galio? Galio is decent. I think he's on the line, like, of the lines where it's good line, bad line, normal line. He's like normal, I would say. He's not crazy damage dealer. He does do decent damage. He has a lot of utility, which they buffed the fuck out of him. They nerfed his damage, I would say, into the ground for the most part. Since his release, obviously. Since new rework. But, they just upped his utility. His passive is almost always up. The E is great. The taunt is great. The ulti is in a decent state right now. And because of his decent damage, I would say he's on the normal line. Now, should he get buffed or nerfed? I would say he could get buffed, honestly. But he's a wide pick. Nah, I would say nerf. I would say nerf because he's really, really good. I would say he's really good and really just consistent. I'm assuming they might cut some cooldowns off of his passive or something. I don't know. I'm curious. A consistency change to ensure players don't accidentally zero cast their dash while also giving Galio's enemies more opportunities to dodge it. Okay. Just that this punch now has a minimum 250 dash distance, starting from E origination, not the dash back. I don't understand. So, you have a minimum distance you have to dash now, I guess, on Galio's punch, which I guess makes it so players who cast it like too short, that doesn't happen. So that's kind of nice, I guess. But I guess it's okay. In general, does this really do anything? Not really. This is just in my opinion, a quality of life change for Galio. Okay, Jinx. What do I think of Jinx? I think Jinx, ironically enough, is right under the fucking line in terms of where Ashe is. Ashe is really near the good line, and then Jinx is like right under her. I would say Jinx's laning is decent because she has a lot of range and she brings some utility with E. Obviously not as much as Ashe with her passive and ultimate and E. But Jinx, I I mean, I'm biased. I was a Jinx main for God knows how long, and I love her right now, but I would say Jinx is really good in the spot she's in, and what makes her really, really good that not many people understand is the scaling on her rockets. Not only do they give more range and splash, they actually do give more damage, and then it scales with the crit multiplier of IE, which gives her a lot more damage. I think she gets up to 249% damage on her crits with rocket form, with IE, which is kind of fucking crazy. Like, she gets almost old IE levels of damage, pre-nerf. What is my family doing? Like, it's 5 AM and they're being so fucking loud. But anyway, aside from the complications of my very annoying family, Jinx, very good. Now, they said they're updating her, so I'm not assuming this to be anything big, because I think she's pretty good. A lot of people discount Jinx, but she is a hyper carry and she's very good, especially like late game. Early game I say is her weakest, and if she doesn't get anything to really get her going, she's a little lackluster. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. I could speak about ADs for days. The E now deals all damage up front. Honestly, I never understood why it was tick damage. I think I can name, of the thousands of games I have on Jinx specifically, I can name about 2 instances where the E tick damage did anything at all, and that's when it got me a kill. And I was like surprised. I was like, what the fuck, how'd I kill them? Because it killed them, you know, after they left the E. I was like, holy shit. But yeah, this just didn't make any sense that it was tick damage. It now deals all the damage up front, which I guess it's just for consistency's sake. It really doesn't change anything, honestly. Maybe if you were gonna kill them, and maybe if they were gonna kill you and get the Triumph proc and heal, that little bit of damage up front might kill them in that very, very specific scenario. But in general, this really does nothing. But it's decent. I guess it changes basically nothing though. Jinx is still good. Karthus. I feel like Karthus is just gonna keep getting hit with the beating stick. And ironically enough, I think it's kind of sad, because Karthus is so fucking weak. His autos aren't even fucking auto attacks. He relies solely on his Q for almost everything. You have to be very good with the Q. You have to be very mechanical with Karthus in general. People think, oh, I play Karthus, I'll die, still do good, and press R and we'll win. No. It used to be like that, but then Riot hated that and they shoved the stick up his fucking bony skeletal ass. So he's not like that anymore, and I feel like now the Karthus mains are just playing him. They're doing decent on him because they did kind of overbuff in my opinion, and now they're just gonna fucking gut him. But let's see. And it's all because of stupid jungle Karthus too. He never goes mid because he's paper. Assassins would shred him, junglers would have a field day with him. Even in the jungle, he gets fucking invaded, he gets fucked. Like, Karthus is so fucking bad. I don't know why they're taking away all his power. He's like a glass cannon, and the only problem I guarantee you is his passive. If Karthus as the character existed and didn't have the return to death passive bullshit, then he would not be as much of an issue. I guarantee it. But who the fuck knows? So what are they doing? Okay, they're nerfing his Q. Wow. Okay, the main thing he relies on. This is so dumb. Karthus is too reliable of a jungler, mid, and bot pick. Not mid, maybe bot. You can make the argument for bot lane because anything can work there. I hope that changes with the preseason, by the way. I'll bring that up, hopefully, if I remember, in 2 weeks' time when we get the preseason coming to us. But yeah, bot lane with preseason hopefully is going to be good again, but we'll see. Let's see. He can perma-shove waves and perma-clear champs with little to no cost. That is so fucking false. He cannot do that because early he drains mana like a mofo, and that's like the balancing factor to him early, maybe a little bit in mid. His mana consumption is great, and if anything, they should nerf that, not damage. But whatever. We're lowering his ability to deal sustained damage and gain massive leads so his opponents have a chance to fight back. That's so wrong. Like, do they play the fucking game? Maybe I'm just talking out my ass, because I'm be honest, I haven't really seen Karthus, and I've been mostly playing ARAM, so. But even when I play fucking ranked and the Rift, I don't see Karthus at all. Like, what is this shit they're talking about? It must be a problem in only like high play, and I definitely don't see him in pro play, so. Oh, by the way, Worlds is soon. I'm getting ready for that. I'm excited. Fucking China versus Korea. I'm voting for Korea, so. Anyway, the Q. How badly are they nerfing it? They're nerfing it by 5 base damage. This does absolutely fucking nothing. That was such a waste of time. LeBlanc. What do I think of LeBlanc? LeBlanc's decent. I'm pretty sure she's gonna get buffed because she's not what she was. But she's a decent mid pick. I don't have much to say about LeBlanc. I've barely seen her. She is decent. I know she's decent, but she could be better. Because I remember the terror she was in Season 4. God, that was terrible. But yeah, I'm almost positive she's gonna get buffed here. What are they doing? E cost decreased, buff. E base damage increased, buff. E delayed damage increased, buff. They just straight buffed her. LeBlanc has been in a weak spot across all levels of play. We're giving her another trick up her sleeve by jazzing up one of her underwhelming, underappreciated abilities. I would agree. I would say the E is mostly just thought of as like, oh, I can get a root off and some damage. Like, you honestly use the E to proc the Q most of the time. Maybe. Actually, I don't know. I haven't played LeBlanc in a long time, but when I used to use the E, I was like, the second proc damage is pretty good. But in terms of everything else, I didn't really remember it, so. Let's see. The cost is going down by 20. That's pretty good. The base damage is going up by 10. That's decent. The delayed damage is going up by 10. Okay, well, this basically does very little. It helps. Don't get me wrong. It definitely helps. But not that much. But it's decent. Decent new LeBlanc change. Isn't going to do anything crazy to her. Lulu. I think Lulu is one of the top supports. Lulu is so fucking annoying. God, but I love it. I love it because she's an enchanter. And if played well, she could do a lot. I think Lulu is one of the, if not one of the easier to play supports. She has one of the highest skill ceilings to play. Because you get very complicated with how you use picks and who you put what buff or debuff on with ally or enemy. You have a lot of options on Lulu. So base level, I think it's very easy to do good on her, but it's very hard to do great with her. Well, it's not hard to do great. You can do a lot of great things, but it becomes very hard. That's a better way to say it. I'm very hard. But in general, I think she needs a nerf, honestly. I really do think she needs a nerf. She's really too good at a lot of things. Her shield is great. I mean, I say this every fucking patch she gets looked at. Like, her shielding is great. Move speed, attack speed buff, health, peel, engage a little bit. I would say her weakest thing is engage. That's her weakest thing. Everything else, she's super fucking good at. She can't heal, but that's going to be fixed with this new fucking preseason that's coming out with that busted support item, but we'll see. We'll see. So let's see what's happening. Q base damage decreased later. Interesting. I feel like the Q is more oppressive early than anything. I feel like later it tones itself down, but let's see. Top Lulu. That's why they're doing. I've never even fucking seen Top Lulu. What is this shit? Of course, it's only in skilled play. All that glitters is not gold, reducing her scaling damage to mitigate her ability to consistently harass opponents in wave clear. That makes sense, honestly. They're actually gutting it late. Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, this makes laning against her better because her poke, I think, was a little crazy, honestly. If you could poke on Lulu, like, you did damage if you landed it. But, nerfing this later, you could really tell they don't want her to do fucking damage. That's fucking crazy. From 260 to 220, 40 base damage, that's a lot. Luckily they touched the early, but you shouldn't be really leveling this early in my opinion. You should level other shit, it's just more worth. I would say the shield. Again, I've barely ever played Lulu. I think the last time I played it was in Season 6 maybe, but maybe 7. But in general, yeah, this curve's top lane Lulu. I don't know how OP it is. Maybe it's actually pretty OP thinking about it now. Thinking about how much Lulu can do to others, she probably does the same thing to herself and just fucks the enemy, but I'm actually a little sad. While I do think it shouldn't be allowed, because it's probably ridiculous, I'm sad that, like, Lulu branching out to other roles isn't really looked upon too well by Riot, but that's fine. Nasus. So, I don't know what they're doing to Nasus. I'm assuming it's a buff because Nasus fucking blows, in my opinion. I don't know what the new preseason's gonna do to him. I didn't see anything too crazy, or I didn't think of anything too crazy looking at the items. But in terms of right now, he kind of blows dick. Hopefully they're giving him a final hurrah in this season where he kind of sucks. And I feel like they're buffing him. I'm thinking it's going to be a buff. I'm thinking they're buffing him because he's getting a new skin next patch. Spoiler alert, Battlecast. What are they doing? Our bonus resistances increased. Bonus resistance per level, per second removed. Oh, okay. I remember why they're doing this. I know why they're doing this. There was a video on YouTube by Vandrel, I think. You know, it's always this guy who finds the shit. He basically got enough cooldown on Nasus, not a nerf, this is just regular preseason. He got enough cooldown items to have his ultimate permanently up, and he gained infinite armor and MR because the ulti never ran out and he just kept stacking resistances every second. It was insane, and I feel like that's why they're doing this. Overall though, I do think this is a buff. So before, when you ult, you would get 15, 35, 55 base, and then you'd gain more over time. Now, how long does the ulti last? I actually forgot. I think it's like 7 seconds or something, or 15 maybe, actually. Let me look it up. Nasus. League of Legends. His ulti lasts for... what's the duration? 15 seconds. Okay, wow, that's actually huge. So 15 seconds, and let's compare this late game. Early game and late game. Fuck the mid game. So 15 seconds. Right now, he would get 15 plus 1 second, so an extra 15, so he'd get 30. So overall, the early game is just a straight buff and then some. It's doubled. You get the full like amount and then some. Late game, 55, 3 times 15... 15, 30, 45, so 55, 65, 95, 85. I think late game it's a nerf. I'm a little confused though. 3, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, 50, 60, 21, 4, 2, 7, 30. Is it? Yeah, I think it's nerf 3, 6. But yeah, I can't do basic math. It's too early in the morning. Well, for me it's lunchtime, but early game it's a huge ass buff, late game it's a nerf, and ironically, I actually would agree with this change. It's still a buff, even though they're nerfing it late. Late game, it doesn't fucking matter as much as it does early game. I would rather take the extra resistances early when I'm ulting than late when I don't really need it. I'm either set up or I'm losing the game anyway. Late game, it doesn't matter. I'd rather take the resistances when I fucking need them, when I'm at my weakest. So, I would actually say this is a great fucking change to his R. Great change for early game. Super fucking good. Will it change Nasus's power? No, because pre-6 you could get harassed out and just fucking be useless. But really good change for the situations where you're not completely fucked. Really good. Samira. Samira, I think... oh god, I'm gonna spend so much time on this one too. Samira is good. She's not great. Her 2 weaknesses. CC and tanks, and those are usually paired together. CC cucks her. Like, if she's ulting, she gets cucked. And my opinion on the ulti is it doesn't scale as well as like you want it to. The only time I think personally you should use the ulti is when the enemy has nothing up and can't stop you, which is like the worst, or one of the worst situations, but acceptable to use it. The next one that's slightly better is the enemy is all squishy. If the enemy's all squishy, I would say, okay, use it, and they're grouped up. The last situation is you're landing a guaranteed 5-man ult. Like, they're CC'd, you have ult, just do it because you're going to damage everyone, and it's going to be worth. I would argue her single target damage in melee form, or even ranged, with the safety she gets, is a lot better than her going in and ulting, because a lot of the time it gets you killed, and it doesn't do enough damage unless you're really fed, or the enemy's really squishy, like the situation I said before. So ironically enough, like I said, last patch review, they're kind of playing with the idea of, okay, Samira, you want to ult, you get a good ult off, team fight, GG, easy, you win. But in reality, it's you might get baited to try and use your ult because you think that's what the character really has power with. You go in and you die because you ultied, whereas if you just didn't go in, poke them down, and played like an actual AD, you might have actually done better. But that's just my gripe with how she is now. I think that she's decent. She works greatly with CC. In lane, I think she's a lane bully. I think if you have a support who knows what they're doing, I mean, at that point, who isn't a lane bully, but she's like Draven levels of oppressive. Like, if you have a Leona Nautilus Thresh with Samira, I guarantee you, and they know what they're doing, I guarantee you, laning against Samira early is one of the hardest things. It's so fucking annoying. Unless you just hard counter her. It's super fucking annoying. That being said, I don't think she scales one into mid or late game. She scales decently. The fact that her ult can crit and even better apply lifesteal helps her massively. If it didn't, I would say the ulti is completely fucking useless. But in general, I think she's in a decent spot, ironically enough. She's always fucking banned, and that's because people prioritize early lane, and she dominates early lane in my opinion. But in general, she doesn't scale too well. I would say on the line of bad, normal, good. She's between normal and good, on the same tier as Jinx. No, a little lower than Jinx. So I would say she's like the middle point between good and normal. She's the midpoint of that. But in general, what do I think they're doing to her? I have no fucking clue. I don't think they're gonna buff her because her ban rate is through the roof. I think they're gonna nerf her. What? I have no fucking clue. I don't think she's really ridiculous anymore. If anything, maybe her... God, I don't fucking know. Her Q sucks, kind of. It's good for poke. It's like an auto attack, basically. That scales worse with crit, so it's worse for late game than early. W is already a long-ass cooldown. E already got nerfed. R already got nerfed. Honestly, I have no clue. I need to see. I'm pretty sure she's getting nerfed, though. Base attack, damage, and armor reduced. That's actually crazy. Samira has quickly made her mark as a powerhouse ADC who can effortlessly slash, bash, and dash into a snowball lead. Exactly what I said. She can snowball really hard. We're pulling out some of her early brawling power to reduce her reliability. I remember they advertised this AD as kind of like an assassin, which in a way she is, but as an AD who didn't completely need to rely on her support to get things done. And I feel like now that they're nerfing her AD, her base AD, and her armor, it's a big fucking change. Like, you're gonna feel it, especially armor in the bot lane. God, ADs already have so little, and having even less early hurts. Like, they double whammied her here. Is it that bad? No. Are people gonna feel it? Probably. I think probably they will. Okay, Sejuani. What do I think of Sejuani? I think Sejuani is still a bad jungler, honestly. Sejuani, I don't know what's wrong with her. They keep buffing her, and I'm pretty sure they're going to buff her again, but she's just not being played because it's not the era of tank junglers. I would say Sejuani's biggest weakness is just her early game. I say she scales decently well into the mid and late game, but they're gonna buff her early game. I think she's getting buffs and it's gonna be her early game because that's the only reason why she wouldn't be played. Because she's this big hulking tank engaged later on that kind of lives in the fight for a decently long time. It just sets up stuff and helps your team. But to get to that point is just hard when you get abused. It's like the Nasus treatment, basically. It's like Nasus, but not as bad. So what are they doing? The jungle meta has turned a cold shoulder to Sedge. Yup. It's finally time to give our favorite boar and... Oh, I thought it said and her lover some love and release Sejuani and Bristle from their aegis, whatever, glacial prison. Base damage on the R is going up by 25. That does basically nothing. Maximum damage has gone up to 2, 3, 4. That's actually pretty fucking good. That's actually pretty decent. Now, it's not what I have liked to see. I would have liked to see maybe her base skills get a little bit more damage. Maybe, like base damage, so they don't scale well. They just do good damage early, but... I mean, it's something. It's decent for team fighting. Now, Sejuani might hurt a little bit early. Late game, obviously, this doesn't fucking matter, but early game, it's decent. I would say it's okay. Does it change anything? Probably not. Xayah. Oh boy, Xayah. So, I'm always going to go back to saying the same stuff as in other patch note videos until something really significant changes. Xayah is decent. Remember in the little thing I keep bringing up in the good line and the normal line? She's right above the normal line. She's like lower, the lowest you could possibly be on normal or on good, but above normal. So like, she's worse than most of the other ADs that are good, but she's not bad. Like if you pick her, she scales pretty decently well. She does a lot of damage. She has a great ulti. I would say just her weaknesses, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know honestly. Maybe it's just her early or mid. You kind of have to pair her with Rakan to be really good, but even then, I don't think you need. Maybe some people think that. I don't know what's her deal. She's not great early. Her late game, I would say, is pretty decent, if not great. I would say it's just the early and mid. She's a little weak, and her range is 525, which doesn't help anyone. But her and Kai'Sa were the two like reliable ADs, and they nerfed their ults and attack speeds. Ironically, they nerfed both of them the same, just in different ways, but the same stuff about them was like broken. I'm assuming it's C buffs because I barely see Kai'Sa, or not Kai'Sa. God fucking damn it! I always mix these two up. I barely see Xayah, and I barely want to play Xayah. I mean, I know she's good, but I don't feel like she's great anymore. What are they doing? The current marksman ecosystem hasn't been well suited for this Mark's bird. We're buffing up her ability to let her feathers fly. That makes it sound like it's her ulti they're buffing, but apparently not. Base attack speed go 3.3 to 3.9. That's actually a lot more than I thought they'd give her. So we're going from almost a little above 3% to a little under 4%, which equates to maybe close to 18 extra percent. Not really, actually, because I would say maybe, I'm just gonna round and lowball it, 15 extra percentage of attack speed at level 18, which is good. It's pretty good. Will this change a lot? No. Will it be felt? Maybe. I think this is honestly pretty decent. Will it change much? Nah. Zed. I actually just played Zed in ARAM today. Zed feels interesting, but it feels like they took so much out of his kit. Ironically enough, the one Zed game I just played in ARAM showed me like what they actually did to the guy. For those of you who don't know, back when I used to be rambunctious and play mid back in seasons 4, 5, and 6, I saw Zed have a thing on his W. I forgot when they took it out, but when you leveled your W, you gained percentage AD. You basically got a gen passive. You just gained AD for having AD. It was super good. They moved that to his R. Because I don't know. I don't know why they did it. He was maybe too good, but they moved it to his R. Then when they moved it to his R, I guess he was still too good, and they fucking took it off. So now, something he's had from launch for a long ass time, they took off, and I didn't even remember, honestly. But it's surprising. I don't think Zed is great in any sense of the term. I think he's a well, let me not say that. I think he's a decent assassin. He does his job decently well, but the later the game goes on, I feel like the less he can really do. Because if you CC him, or if you flash him and he's, not like God, you don't really have pressure from him to pop the mark. And if he doesn't pop the mark is his basically surefire way to kill the AD. If he doesn't pop the mark, he might be able to kill the AD, but it's a coin flip at that point. So in terms of his usefulness in doing his job, it's very hard to pull off. Now, once you do pull it off, it is very safe, but I would say Zed is just a high skill cap champion to do what he needs to do. It's super complicated, super hard. To play him well, you need to be super fucking good at him. And at that point, you're better off moving to someone else, because if you take the level of skill you need to play Zed onto another assassin, you will do better on them. That's what I believe. But in general, Zed is not that good. I would say he's below the normal line. He's between normal and bad, but right below the normal line. Actually, no, he's halfway between the normal and bad line. He's not that good at all. Like, if you play Zed, you're really not doing anything unless you get super fed and are against super squishy people, and their team doesn't have a lot of CC. It's like really bad, I think. But anyway, what are they doing? I'm assuming they have to buff him. E-base damage reduced later. That's actually fucking insane. Bring down some of Zed's reliable damage. Yeah, it's only reliable if you walk up, put the W on them, and they stay in it. Like, I don't think it's real. I don't know. This is fucking weird. he has to lean more on other parts of his kit to get you. Yeah, the parts of the kit that can miss, aka his Q. The W doesn't do anything. If you miss the E, all you have is the R, which does wiener damage unless you hit the Q. It's like, what is this? But whatever. How bad are they nerfing it? 170 to 150. They're taking off 20 base damage elite. Max he's second, so you'll feel it a little bit, but basically this does almost nothing. I don't want to say almost nothing. It does decent stuff, but it just makes that worse, and he's already decently bad, I think. Anyway, unless you're super good at him. Pet range indicators. Pets that snap back when exceeding the range of their indicators sent it. Wait, what? Oh! Wait. Oh, that's super good quality of life. So now you'll know when your Shaco clone or your Annie, Tibbers is about to go back to you. So you can kind of manage that now. That's actually a very good quality of life change. Super fucking good. Clash updates. Okay, I just read this and that got hard. Clash teams can have up to 20 invites at a time. One thing I hated about Clash was you didn't know sometimes if you're like me and didn't have a locked in team every time, like you know who your teammates were going to be every single Clash. You had to get randoms. This was the most annoying thing. You would invite someone and you don't know if they're joining or not, so you'd have to keep them there, and then they're taking up a slot and you can't invite anyone else. It was super frustrating. Once your team fills up, all open invites will be cancelled. In addition, the Shadow Isles Cup schedule is now live in the client, but this is taking place after the season ends next month, so the VP win won't count for the end of season 2010 awards. No one cares. We'll let you know when the tournament VP will begin counting for the end of season 2021. I gotta check that out, actually. Okay, Earth balance changes. I don't give a shit. Actually, I kind of do. I'm curious. Anivia got buffed. Fiddlesticks. I don't care. Castle. I don't care. Nami. I don't care. Vlad. Nerfed. Kind of. Yon. Nerfed. Jesus. Wait, no. These are all buffs. Never mind. I'm lying. Bug fixes. Okay. Oh, nice. It'll know Kaisa's abilities in chat now. Yumi's Q prompter not properly procs Manifold. Yo, this was so bad. We were playing fucking Clash with this, and I was like, yo, this is so bad, because Yumi has mana problems, obviously. Manifold helps extremely, and it wasn't proccing it. And I thought it was an intentional change, because they hate Yumi and her mana. Like, oh my god, this was terrible. I'm so glad they fixed it. Aphelios, the hell? I'm gonna push towards Simony Cassie. Ew. That's actually insane. They were pushed towards him instead of away. So anyway, KDA, All Out, Seraphine, and shit like that. So before we go into Seraphine, let me actually see when the Clash thing's going out. It's November 14th. Fuck, that's the day after COD. No. I don't think I'm gonna play this. I mean, I might, but God, I kind of don't want to. If there's a fucking pass, a token pass, I might though. And that's December. Jesus Christ. I'm surprised they're doing it this soon. But that's fine. So okay. Now let me switch over to my Google and show you guys Seraphine's kit and my opinions on it, should you so be interested. Ironically enough, I think Surrender at 20 has a way better looking patch notes than League does, which is weird, but whatever. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, their patch notes look okay. Leagues are okay, but League could definitely stand to improve on it. So let me show you guys this shit. Boom. Here we go. So here we go. Seraphine, the new champion. I'm gonna quickly go over her kit if it's here. Is it here? It's not. Fuck, I thought it was here. Shit. Never mind, I take back what I said. Let me see, where's Seraphine? I know what to do. Let's go here, right? No. Oh shit, no, what am I doing? 22. Here we go. Seraphine. So, we don't care about base stats. I mean, the only things I care about are attack range. Your attack range is 525. That's whatever. Her passive. Every third basic ability that she uses will just happen a second time, and her abilities kind of play off that. Everything except for her Q, I think. I think the Q second ability thing is just normal. It just casts it twice. But everything else has some sort of CC or something attached with it, if you get hit with both. Now, she also has something which I think is why she's going to be in the support lane. Basically, when you cast an ally, you create a note whenever you're near them. Now, Seraphine gets a note, and the ally gets a note. And depending on how many notes you have, it increases her next auto attack, both in damage and range. I don't know if there's a cap, and I don't know how much damage it really does, if it's like great damage scaling with a lot of notes or not. But it's really good. Like, that's a really good passive. You're always going to get use out of that because you're always using abilities. That's actually crazy. It's a really useful passive. Her Q. Her Q is basically just AoE bomb. It's basically quirky AoE bomb. And it's kind of like an execute. If you hit it twice, it just hits twice. That is it. And it does more damage the lower they are. So pretty decent Q. And its cooldown is super low too. Late game. So you're probably maxing this first, which is pretty decent. Surround sound, W. This is a little weird. So it's a long ass cooldown, costs a decent amount of mana. And basically, you grant yourself move speed, and everyone near you move speed. And you give them a shield. Now, if they're already shielded, if you or your allies are already shielded, you still get the move speed. But instead, it restores health. Now, is it a lot of health? I don't fucking know. Oh, it's missing health. Oh my god. And it's after a delay, so it's delayed. Pretty decent for team fighting, kind of. And I mean, the delay makes it good. Obviously, an instant heal would be better, but the delay in my mind is like, okay, you're allowed to get a little lower as long as you don't die, and then it'll heal more. Excuse me. And plus, you get the shield on top of it if you double proc it, unless the enemy takes out the shield. But she shields, she heals, and she pokes, and gives move speed, all with her Q and W. Sona can slow, but that's the only thing she has over Seraphine at this moment. Seraphine has more reliable poke with her auto that gains super range, an AoE Q, where Sona's just hits 2 people prioritizing champions. This can hit anyone and is an execute, so it's super fucking good. And heals missing health. Sona's heal is fucking bad. So already she's being the better Sona. E. Now this one's also pretty good. I think you max this if you're going like mid, I think. So basically it's just like a mini Sona ult in a line. And it does damage, but it deals double damage to minions at max level. And if you hit them while they're already slowed, so it doesn't have to technically be from you. If you hit them while they're already slowed, they're rooted. And immobilized enemies are stunned, so if they're already rooted or have some other CC, they're stunned on top of it. The E is a super useful ability. It's a little slow, but it has pretty decent range. Now, if you do it twice, most of the time you're either rooting or stunning people, because they're either already CC'd or they're gonna be. So I think her utility is actually through the fucking roof. Sona's utility, again, at most, if you stack her passive, is a slow. That's her utility CC-wise without ulti. I'm just comparing the two with their Q, Ws, and Es and passives. She's already better than Sona in every single way, except for slowing. Which, no, actually, she slows with the E, never mind. She has all of Sona's kit. She has all of Sona's kit in her basic abilities, including a stun. Including an execute. Are you fucking shitting me? Are you shitting me? This is so bad for Sona mains. And they gave an ultimate skin to Sona. This shows you how much they're pandering to fucking this nonsense for the skin. But anyway. God, I heard they had to hotfix this too on PvE. They had to nerf this because it was ridiculous. Anyway, her ulti is the better fucking Sona ulti. Ready for this? She takes the stage doing a fucking charm, a big AoE charm. That's like basically better Sona ult in a line, that then gets extended if you hit allies or enemies. So remember how Sona might panic do her ult? If your ally's in front of you, it might not even be a panic ult that you miss, it might be a panic ult that you hit because its range is extended. It's fucking crazy how much better she is. It's crazy. I don't know if it does more damage than Sona's thing, but it's as good, I would say. Sona's one stuns, I believe, and makes them dance a little bit, you know, a little jiggy. But Seraphine's is a charm, so they go towards you, which is, in my opinion, is a lot better in certain circumstances, or in more circumstances. This is crazy. This is fucking crazy. Like, and it gives allied champions maximum notes. Okay, so there's a cap. Like, that is fucking insane. It synergizes with her passive, too. Oh my god. She's good. She's the better fucking Sona. I don't know how good she is, assuming she got nerfed on PvE, which they almost never do, unless the champion's really crazy. I'm assuming she's gonna be good. I'm having Hunter get me the skin. I'm gonna fucking play her. I'm gonna hate it, but I'm gonna love it, because she actually looks decently fun. I just wish the stuff that was given to her was given to other people. Her kit is fine. It should have been reworked Sona. The skin, it's whatever. They have excuses for why they can't put the changes in game. It would crash the game, Riot says, if they made an ultimate skin that could change like in game again, even though they've been doing it. But whatever, I'm gonna believe them. She does not deserve the ultimate skin at launch, and her kit deserves to go to Sona. Other than that, I think she's actually really cool, really interesting. She's a little annoying, but I'm excited to play her for just her gameplay. I hope she comes out tomorrow. But anyway, overall, that's the patch. Now, oh my god, her fucking mouth is open. Now, this patch overall, pretty decent. Not a lot of changes I thought were stupid, except maybe the Karthus one. Brand change was great, anti-change was great. Honestly, they did a lot more this patch than I thought they would. I'm gonna give this patch 7.5 Marc Merrills out of 10. They actually tried to do a lot, and I think they succeed with some things. Ashe change is, I think, irrelevant. Annie change is really interesting and will change stuff. Brand change is really interesting and will change stuff. Jinx change was, I guess, okay. I mean, but we're getting a new champion that I think is actually good and is a support, and I'm actually wanting to play. 7.5 Marc Merrills out of 10. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys, whoever even watches this shit for this long, in the next video, which will hopefully be in 2 weeks for that patch notes. And then in 2 weeks, I will do that patch notes and then be fiending for COD because it's going to come out soon. I'm going to play zombies and I'm going to have so much fun. But anyway, that's it. I'm out.